Oh, hang on. Sorry, I'm having to do this and let people in, so I'm sort of multitasking. Right. Okay. So, well, welcome everybody on this very sunny day. First of all, this knowledge share has been generously sponsored by Yasna.ai, the AI-powered platform that helps independent researchers, consultants, and research agencies to scale in-depth interviews. Claim your free 14 days Yasna Pro free trial today. Conduct up to 50 interviews worth €100. Sign up at yasna.ai. And many thanks. Oh, hang on. Let me just let these people in. Sorry. Many thanks to today's speaker, Hugh Carling. Hugh is a founder of Liveminds. Oh, sorry. Oh, God, honestly. Forgive me. I didn't share my screen, which I should. Oh, Hugh's. Oh,
Recording in progress.
Sorry. When I should have shared this slide as I read. I didn't. So thank you to Yasna. And thank you to Hugh. And someone's recording and throwing off the sound.
Could that be me? Do I need to turn my sound off maybe? Or
it could be my phone.
Right. Okay. Well, let's see how we go. It's stopped now. It was very weird. So thanks to Hugh. Hugh is a founder of Liveminds, a pioneer of mobile Qual and the creator of behavioral recruitment, the MRS award-winning service that uses social networks to engage fresh participants in 190 countries. Liveminds have integrated generative AI throughout their mobile Qual and recruitment platform to deliver curated insight videos from global participants in just 48 hours. Their mission is to enable every business to have access to the insights they need to grow. I'm just admitting some more people. So just to say to everybody, if you've got questions, please really put them in the chat and then we'll get to them at the end and then we'll do them verbally as well if there's time. So without further ado, let me pass over to Hugh and over to you, Hugh. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Lynn. So hopefully if I press this button.
Yeah, and can I just ask everybody else to mute themselves?
Cool. So can you see my screen now? Lynn, could you nod if... excellent. It was as before. Cool. I can't see myself. I hope my hair is looking all right. Cool. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you very much indeed for choosing to spend some time with us this afternoon on this sunny day. As Lynn mentioned, yeah, I'm Hugh, co-founder of Liveminds, a Qual research supplier. Now, as we all know, over the last 50 years, big brands like Google, Nike and Sainsbury's have come to rely on qualitative research to get regular and rich insights into their consumers. And this has been done in a number of different ways, but obviously with face-to-face focus groups and interviews historically being the main methods used. But is it too slow and expensive for smaller brands? Qualitative research has traditionally only been used sporadically and for special occasions only by smaller brands. Rightly or wrongly, it has often been viewed as too slow and expensive for the vast majority of those businesses. So as a result, an overwhelming amount of the, I believe it's $20 billion of qualitative research work conducted each year around the world has been done for bigger businesses. Now, technology, in particular generative AI, is enabling brands to regularly access qualitative insights for the first time. And in this session, we'll explore how and why this development will grow the industry over the coming years, and as it does, provide big opportunities for independent qualitative researchers. Who the hell am I? Lynn's already explained, so I won't bore you with it a second time around. Where are we? So yes, how big is this opportunity? Firstly, though, what do we mean by smaller brands? You might have noticed I didn't put SMEs in the title, and that is because in this context, we're looking at brands that have been too small to be regularly using qualitative research previously, essentially due to the time, cost, and resources required. And we think these companies fit broadly into two categories: SMEs, and what I have for the purposes of this afternoon's meeting described as lean brands. Looking at SMEs first up. Now, in the UK and across Europe, SMEs are defined as companies that have less than 250 staff, as sort of full-time or equivalent, and a turnover of less than £50 million or euros across Europe. There is some contingency around balance sheets as well, but we'll hand wave over that for the purposes of today. So here are some examples of kind of fast-growing UK consumer SMEs. And I'm sure some of those brands will be well familiar to you. Now, lean brands, as I say, is a term slightly made up to describe companies that have a large workforce and turnover, but also have a kind of small back office and marketing function. So, completely honest, we're still slightly ironing out the definition of this. But I've definitely had conversations with members of the ICG and experiences of my own where this has been the case. So, and I think there's a big opportunity in there as well. So, for the purposes of this, we've looked at kind of where the headquarters and sort of core office function is less than 250, and perhaps where they have a marketing team of less than 20 people. But their turnover and their headcount overall as a business may exceed the SME qualification. But we'll come back to lean brands a little bit later on. So how big is the SME market? Well, firstly, let's have a quick look at how many of them there are in the UK. It may be surprising, it was to me. There are several million, the vast majority of which are micro businesses. 94% are micro businesses, and there are over 5 million of those in the UK. And their turnover is about 900 billion per year. Small businesses, which represent 5% of the SME definition, and a turnover of 700 billion. And then you have the medium-sized businesses, those which are classified as 50 to 250 people, and have a turnover of 10 to 50 million. And those collectively are generating about £1 trillion in revenue. So it is 60% of the UK workforce, with a combined turnover of about just shy of £3 trillion, which is 52% of the UK total. So, it is a huge portion of the economic makeup of the UK. Large businesses are the remainder and contribute 2.5 trillion, so 48% of the total. I think for the purposes of today, we are going to slightly disregard the micro businesses, which make up 95% of the business population in the UK. The reason for that is half of those turn over less than 100,000. So typically cash is limited, and in all likelihood, opportunities for research are limited too. I'm sure it's possible to argue that is wrong on some levels, but just for the purposes of focus today, that's going to be our focus. So zooming out a little bit, and particularly in view of our Spanish attendees this afternoon, how big is this market across the EU? So the EU basically shares the same classification of those three sizes of SME, and interestingly, the breakdown of the markets overall is very similar. So yeah, the breakout for the sort of micro and small business is a little bit of a guesstimate because they do sort of calculate it in slightly different ways. But yes, as you can see, the number of them and the composition of the turnover is quite similar to how it is in the UK. So no great surprises in that, perhaps. So how big is their marketing spend? Now, I've looked at various sources of statistics, surveys and recommendations from small business advisors who would put the average for small businesses kind of marketing investment at about 7.5% of their turnover. with B2Bs kind of at the lower end, sort of towards 5 or 6, and then consumer brands perhaps more towards sort of 9 or 10. So yeah, quote from the New Digital Age: small and medium enterprises in the UK are preparing to spend a staggering 35 billion on marketing in 2024 as they prioritize it over other parts of their business, according to research from Three's B2B arm, Three Business. So yeah, obviously there is a lot of money and investment and opportunity at play. Now, how big could the research spend from this market be? Now, there are no firm statistics on this. There are only guidelines and I would imagine anecdotal experience of hopefully some of you and some that we might know. But yeah, Mark Ritson, the influential Marketing Week sage and leader of the Marketing Mini MBA, famously recommended investing 5% of your budget in research because if you don't invest 5% of your budget in research, you don't know what you're doing, which I'm sure most of us on the call this afternoon would concur with, precise statistics notwithstanding. So yeah, finding exact statistics on what companies actually do is hard/impossible from publicly available data, but this is a mantra repeated frequently online in guides for small businesses. Is included in the MRS's Guide to Market Research for SMEs. And yeah, amongst large UK corporates, typically 8 to 10% is spent on marketing insights and analytics. So whether or not that is true currently, that is perhaps where it should be and where the opportunity to manifest itself for us appears. So extrapolating that, the UK small and mid-sized businesses could be a £6.5 billion industry, and across the EU, you'd be looking at sort of 45 billion euros were that 5% to be true. One second. But if we have a look at the SME research market now, that's all very well in theory, but actually, what are the benchmarks that we can work from about the state of SME research as we stand? Well, curiously, but perhaps tellingly, I was unable to find any robust publicly available data to break down the percentage of qualitative market research, or indeed any market research that is currently conducted on behalf of SME brands. If anyone does know of such a source, please do let me know. I hunted high, hunted low, I could not find. So in the absence of public data, I looked at a couple of sources for some guidelines to this. Firstly was our own data, and those are, namely the brands that have kind of benefited either directly or through over 300 agencies from insights gathered on our Qual research platform over the last 15 years. And then secondly was the brands that we have recruited on behalf of over the years. And yeah, that was a list of over 875 different brands. Now, using AI to, process the data and help me jump through some of the hoops here, 8% of those brands were SMEs, according to the UK and European definition. And that figure was very slightly lower when we just looked at our mobile Qual platform, maybe about 7%, perhaps because asynchronous Qual has in the past sometimes been regarded as a luxury. And it might be interesting also to look at our sales data and compare the number of deals that were lost for SME brands relative to big brands, but as yet I've not had an opportunity to do that. So yeah, so 8% from 875 different brands for us over the last 15 years. And as I say, that's with working with agencies and brands directly around the world over an extended period. So it's a reasonable representation, I hope, of the market to some degree. Secondly, we invited members of the ICG and also freelance researchers contacts on our database to take part in a little survey. And 56 people very kindly responded. So if you're one of them, then thank you very much indeed. That is much appreciated. I'm not a quant researcher. I know that 56 people is not a statistically valid sample, but nonetheless, hopefully it gives us some useful steers to understand the picture of our fellow members of the community and how SMEs play into their current work. So, yeah, we found that just under a third don't do any work at all for SMEs, and that's either directly or indirectly. But 1 in 4 derive more than a quarter of their income from SMEs already. So it is important portion to to a healthy chunk of the ICG membership on that basis. How do independents work with SMEs? Well, we found that 3/4 of those mainly work directly with them. 15% is through agencies, and 10% is kind of about the same. Who do independents prefer working with? And yes, the majority had no preference. Slight inflection towards working with larger brands over SMEs. We'll come back to some of the reasons why, perhaps in just a moment. Now, if we look at the sort of core pain points which have been identified in working with SMEs, top, perhaps unsurprisingly, is budget and cost constraints. Limited research literacy was the next sort of ranked problem. Timing and project certainty was also identified, and then slightly less frequently, sort of process immaturity and scope creep and high expectations. With one quote, they expect a lot for their money and still want rigor. On the other hand, some of the key benefits of working with SMEs were identified as having a more tangible impact on decisions and the satisfaction that comes through that, having more direct access to decision makers and owners, the client passion and energy that comes from smaller businesses, and agility and speed, and smooth payment and admin, a subject which I've seen crop up on the moderator group a few times recently. And yes, another indicative quote, fewer layers mean you can see your insight land in a live product. So then we had a quick look at what type of work the SMEs are doing. Top of that was by some distance, concepts and positioning, product research thereafter, customer journey mapping, usage and attitudes, and then less frequently creative development, consumer immersion, packaging, and a few which didn't resonate at all from the sort of standard SMR sectors that we've used over time to qualify the kinds of work that is done on our platform. So I guess the key takeout from that is that SMEs currently are doing qualitative research for kind of high stakes decisions, new products, rebrands, where it's more about shaping the proposition itself rather than for kind of comms testing or media work. So what is changing and why? Well, qualitative research is growing, and our fellow ICG member, Mike Stevens, was quoting the SMR statistic from a couple of years back about qualitative research growing at 30% per year, faster than any other segment of the research and insights industry. I believe that slowed a little bit last year, although couldn't actually find the data to qualify that. Again, if anyone can put me right on that, please do. So Qual is growing. And within that, virtual/online qualitative research is also growing quickly. According to the recent SMR CEO Industry Insights report, when it comes to key growth areas, there are several key trends. Virtual qualitative research, which involves conducting qualitative methods like interviews and focus groups online, is seeing substantial growth at 52%. All of which has led us to a place now where more than 60% of core research is now conducted online. And this is how, this is a little bit older, but this is how the sort of methods break down across across the various methodologies within Qual. Now, some online methods do, of course, reduce the cost of doing Qual research, as you don't have to hire viewing facilities, pay your own travel cost, cover travel for participants, food and drink, etc. But they alone do not move the financial needle enough to kind of open the floodgates for Qual research for SMEs. Now, another clear trend in the research world over the last few years has been the internalization of market research, with, at least in percentage terms, more work being conducted in-house and relying less on external agencies. And that's on a kind of project by project basis. And company leaders have identified as requiring more speed and frequency in their insights, according to the SMR report. Another trend is the rise in DIY platforms. Yeah, it's quoted as the most exciting development is the 14% growth in self-serve research platforms, alternatively known as DIY platforms. This segment represents almost 6% of the sector's turnover in the US, indicating the shift towards democratizing these research tools. Possible implication is that more organizations, even small-scale firms, are adopting these flexible, cost-effective platforms to extract insights rather than relying on conventional full-service agencies. For the industry, this trend means increased competition for full-service market research firms and opportunities for hybrid models that combine professional research guidance with self-service technology. Now, this is quite an interesting example. Again, a quote from Mike, who was looking at a Maze study from a couple of years ago, this was now, where they looked at 600 researchers, designers, and product managers, and it was reported that for every 3 researchers, there were 8 people who do research in that sort of more user product research focused domain that Maze operates in. So is that a trend that market research will follow? Yeah, it's certainly a possibility. Now, I hope this is going to work, as yet untested. But last year, I interviewed another ICG member, Tom Woodnut, about AI's democratization of Qual research. And he went into such depth on the subject that we created an ebook from his responses, which is available online, and I can share with you afterwards. Tom, unfortunately, couldn't join us today, mainly because I didn't give him enough time to do so. But much of what he said is relevant to our topic today. So I will, if it actually plays correctly, drop in some of what he said to provide a researcher's perspective. So hopefully, if I press that.
Over time, I believe this wave of AI-powered tools for Qual will inevitably democratize access to Qual skills, just as technology has disrupted other industries by making expert skills more accessible, whether that be web design, holiday booking, video production, or whatever.
I can't believe that worked. That was almost the first for playing a video in an online meeting. Now, yeah, as Tom stated, and is no doubt clear to everyone, perhaps the single biggest factor in the coming opportunity for smaller brands is because of AI. And generative AI, as we all know, is well, possibly the fastest growing new general purpose technology in history, and its impact on research is already huge. Adoption across the market research industry has been very fast. A recent MRII study of researchers revealed that 62% say that most or some of their team are now using AI. I believe that level of usage was also reflected in the ICG's recent census, although, again, I couldn't find the stat to back that up. Was that about right? Anyone? I think it was. So, I mean, generative AI, in theory at least, is very well suited to Qual research, as you know, it has the ability to accelerate or automate with varying degrees of success all stages of the process, whether that is creating questions, creating stimulus, moderating conversations, analyzing and summarizing data, interpreting results, and creating reports. So it's no surprise that we've seen it included in various ways by Qual platforms like our own Liveminds, Recollective, Qualsy, Field Notes, and VoxPopMe. And at the moment, perhaps the most useful and reliable usage for researchers has been in accelerating analysis. But obviously the tools to instantly transcribe and translate video and audio are also kind of huge cost and time savers. So yeah, this is just a little example. It's not a sales pitch. It's just kind of showing you how we incorporate Gen AI, where text, images, and video responses are instantly organized into kind of summary themes, and then questions and responses can be filtered and accessed easily accordingly. And then each statement is kind of automatically scored and color-coded based on its relevance to the selected theme, making it very fast indeed to surface the things that you can use as a jumping-off point for reporting. But these are not the only one part of the process that can be accelerated and improved by AI. Participant recruitment, which when done well, has traditionally been a pretty slow and manual process, at least to get really good participants that you would want in a Qual study, can also benefit from it in a multitude of ways, whether that is estimating incidence rates, helping to create screeners, evaluating responses. Again, there's some core parts of it which lend itself well to supporting that process. But outside of the kind of established research world, obviously the hypergrowth of the pioneer LLMs is drawing more and more people into the world of insights, including SMEs. So this is from a report from the US Chamber of Commerce about how small businesses are using AI. And yeah, between 2023 and 2024, the numbers of SMEs using AI doubled, with customer insight being the second most popular use case, ahead of sales and CRM, head of recruiting and head of accounting, according to this study.
AI makes it easier for non-experts to design, run, and analyze Qual research. So AI innovation that supports DIY Qual is likely to pull in new entrants from diverse worlds of management consultancy, design through to innovation, advertising, as well as more hands-on in-house client research teams.
That video caught me slightly on the hop.
AI makes it easier for non-experts to design, run, and analyze Qual research. So AI innovation that supports DIY Qual is likely to pull in new entrants from... Beg
your pardon. There we go.
I'm not saying there will be a race to the bottom with all Qual projects becoming simpler, cheaper, and more AI reliant. I'm envisaging multiple races on different tracks of complexity, speed, and budget, with lighter, more AI reliant, simple projects coexisting alongside more manual, nuanced, complex, and human-led, bigger budgeted approaches. I'm not saying there will be a race to the bottom with all Qual projects.
Technology was going so well up until that point. Anyway, so yeah, there are other enablers of the opportunity and that presents itself, not just AI and not just I guess specifically Qual technology, but online courses is another thing that's proliferated considerably over the last 10 years. There are now several affordable, some free, on-demand online training courses, helping non-researchers to better understand why, how, and when to run qualitative research, from the MRS through to Coursera, to YouTube videos and so on. There's also lots of free educational content, some from extremely wealthy tech companies, showing you and providing guides on how to do it, from companies like HubSpot, Maze, Dovetail, Greenbook, and SumUp. And there are also frameworks and templates kind of within research platforms to support people in doing qualitative research. Yeah, whether that's Suzy, VoxPopMe, Dovetail, Maze, or quant platforms like SurveyMonkey. These have become kind of expected tools of many forms of platform. And of course, books, such as the classic Marketing Research Kit for Dummies and UK Independent Market Research in a Week. So a plethora of access to information and learning, guides and supporting systems, even outside of generative AI. Another potential enabler is peer-to-peer expert networks. Now, many have tried and failed in the research industry to get these off the ground, which personally has slightly almost bemused me, as finding a single expert for your specific business or research objective can be everything you need. I include ourselves in that category. We started a network of moderators back in 2015, but became apparent that our recruitment service was growing quickly and this wasn't, so we closed it. But others have tried since, Research Heroes, Savio, Buzzback Studio being the latest one. Personally, I'm sure that at some point they will start to gain traction. But 10 years on, well, from our attempt to do that, and sites, marketplace sites like Fiverr and Juno, TopTal, Upwork have become very large businesses. And as with any profession nowadays, you can find people to do that work on these marketplaces as well. And there are also, of course, directories from respected research organizations around the world, including our favorite, the ICG, and Greenbook and MRS, where you can get direct access to talent that won't charge you big agency prices and offer many advantages besides. So, what are the risks of all this change and either technology or non-experts taking over some of the process in qualitative research? So yeah, I guess poor design, incorrect recruitment, badly formed discussion guides, reputational risk from insensitive questioning, how it's run, leading questions and bias, mishandling group dynamics, ethical data protection issues, misinterpretation of results, overclaim, lost opportunity costs. But yeah, at this point, I'll hand over again to Tom to reflect on this better than I can.
Qual research can easily go wrong if it's designed wrong. For example, by underestimating the time it takes to have discussions with participants, the incentives required to encourage them to participate fully, the validity required to design studies well, risks associated with testing ideas in ways that corrupts the validity of the research. Also, the task of reporting is very challenging when there's so many competing interpretations available from the data. Qual research can easily go wrong.
There we go.
More people without classical training or hands-on experience will be able to do more qual work than before. Now, this could be a risk to the industry's reputation if the quality of the work is over-reliant on AI, lacks validity and nuance, and leads to poor work and bad decisions. This is a similar phenomenon to what was seen in other democratizing technologies that were once the preserve of experts. For example, you don't have to go far to find a dodgy DIY survey designed on SurveyMonkey, wonky websites built on Wix, or skewed interfaces with Squarespace. So expert qual researchers will still be highly valued in a democratized qual research market.
So yeah, I just wanted to give you a very quick overview of, I guess, one such tool, because we have built and are developing a product specifically aimed at kind of enabling SMEs to gather more qual insights. Just to give you a very quick overview of how it can help do this. So this is a sort of standard process for us, and it is much more those kind of qual light sort of projects that Tom referred to. You know, I'm not pretending that this is a replacement for sort of in-depth, nuanced qual research. My hope and my belief from experience that I've seen is that if people can access qualitative insights at a price point and a time scale that they haven't been able to previously, and has shut them out of the industry, then they will start to see the benefits of that. And once they've understood the benefits of it, they will want to do it more frequently and more regularly. And when big, important decisions need to be made, then they will lean on it more heavily. But yeah, just to give you a bit of a flavor of kind of what can be done for what cost, the Liveminds Now service gives you the option to ask 3 questions of 15 participants, defined by their age range, their gender, the country in which they live, and that covers 190 countries. And you'll get a minute video response to each of those 3 questions. That screen will then be launched on social networks around the world. Participants log in, record their videos. The AI then automatically transcribes it, translates it, organizes it into themes, identifies the responses which inform the existence of those themes, then identifies the most compelling statements within those responses, and both highlights them, color codes them, and then clips the videos accordingly. And then within 48 hours, you have a kind of hour of video footage, which has been analyzed, themed, scored, clipped, and filtered. Now, that can be used at a kind of, I guess, brute summary level, if it's something that, is where speed and cost is of great concern. But there are kind of 6 levels which researchers can dive into that filtered data and edit it, analyze it, and improve it to make better informed recommendations and interpretations of the data that's come through it. But all of that can be done for as little as £999, or £1,499 if it's a one-off project. So yeah, I guess what I'm trying to explain there is, that is particularly on kind of international research, does give you access to kind of high quality data from targeted participants that, 5-10 years ago simply wouldn't have been anywhere near possible. And certainly not in my kind of 2-decade career of doing mobile qual research. So, it really, in terms of speed, in terms of price point, and in terms of, still getting, really good data through that, these are different times in which we're entering. Now, just to tie back very quickly, actually, I have been talking a really long time, haven't I? Lynn, do you need to tell me to shut up, or? Well, I'll show you this briefly. This is just a kind of a very quick example. This is something we did for Fortnum and Mason, who sort of tie into the lean brand classification, which I realize I've sort of slightly hand waved over. But they have a small marketing team. They're by definition a big company. But they have a small marketing team, only one sort of insight person there, and wanted to explore expanding to the US. Got a price from a mid-size agency that's quite well known that was just wildly out of their budget in order to do this. We approached them and gave them a sort of faster and more affordable solution, and it worked really well for them, has inspired them to invest more heavily in researching the opportunity in the US, and has also now got budget allocated for a series of these projects around Europe, exploring other markets as well. So I think it's a good example of where they previously sort of not been able to achieve what they wanted to, but are now doors have been opened, and that has created a flow of work off the back of it, from which qualitative insight will be a big part of it. So I'll just give you very quick kind of.
Is this something where you can't necessarily just buy it at like any store?
It's better than average, and maybe not always something that's needed, but something that is a preference to enhance one's lifestyle. So I'm thinking like sur la table.
Anyway, you get the point. So yeah, they got an hour of footage for that price point, which has been extremely useful to them. So yeah, my belief is that indies are perfectly placed to take advantage of this. I guess for all the reasons that independent researchers are advantageous to use over bigger agencies typically, but I think it's just more keenly felt in this context. Senior hands-on expertise, working very closely with decision makers. Obviously, the lower overheads and corresponding prices relative to kind of mid and bigger agencies, and the agility which independents can offer.
This new wave of AI-powered DIY Qual will quickly reveal gaps for experts to manage some or all of the process. And this gap can be easily plugged by independent Qual researchers who are willing to offer elements of the full service. For example, just the design, the moderation, or the analysis, or all three. These gaps are less likely to be filled by full service research agencies, as it's in conflict with their business models.
All right.
So as long
I'm not gonna. There we go. Hang on. One final call from.
So as long as independents can get their hands on AI tools and learn how to use them effectively, their value in the Qual research ecosystem will become even more in demand.
No, I'm going to try and move on from that without playing Tom again. Anyway, there you go. Sorry for the slightly amateur video transition selection, but and sorry also for talking at you for so long. I did fear that might happen, but does anyone have any questions?
I've got the questions on the chat, so I'm going to work backwards from the. Okay, so Lindsay says, I'm curious around the observation that small businesses require insight quickly. I've worked with a number who, quite the reverse, are very protective of their spend and don't want anything done quickly, but more in depth.
I mean, I don't have any refutation, is that a word, of that point. I think it's more about the fact that, well, qualitative research generally, obviously, businesses are needing to move faster. I think that is, I think, generally accepted. And there is more opportunity for more qual research to be done at all levels if it's done quickly and if it's done at a price point which hasn't been possible before. So yeah, I'm sure, and I very much expect that there will be many cases where time is not a factor and the quality of insight is paramount. But yeah, I think it's perhaps more about opening up opportunity at all levels of business in that respect.
Lucy says, have all these AI technologies significantly reduced the cost of qual research in recent years? For qual independent researchers and SMEs, would a 50% cost reduction be a wild guess? Question from a quant researcher.
Yes. Well, I would say, I mean, certainly from our ability to deliver projects, yes, that is accurate, if not slightly more. There are trade-offs in that. I'm not pretending that there are not, but it does mean that people who are happy to make those trade-offs do now have the ability to get good insight for a price that was inconceivable 5 to 10 years ago.
Right. Matt says, what evidence do you have that doing simple, highly automated DIY projects leads clients to desiring deeper / better quality projects run by experts?
Sorry, could you just repeat that, Lindsay? I made a mistake in the chat at the same time.
What evidence do you have that doing simple, highly automated DIY projects leads clients to desiring better, deeper quality projects run by experts?
Well, I guess this is just kind of recent experience since launching Liveminds now, where it's been, I guess, easy for people to dip their toe in the water, and then the results from that have, caused significant interest and excitement for future iterations. So yeah, I don't have a broad data set. That's kind of anecdotal evidence, and I suppose a bit of logic, but yes, that's no great data to support that yet, but hopefully I'd be keen to get more and keen to survey more to collect some.
Anita asks, does that cost, the cost that you referred to earlier, include paying respondent incentives?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Oh, God, sorry. Yeah. Micro can be, Sally said at the beginning, micro can be startups who want research when starting their business. So possibly some opportunities there as well.
I hope, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a well accepted fact. I mean, I've worked in the startup world for long time, and startups could definitely benefit from doing more market research, including startups that I've run myself, and have fallen prey to that failure. So yes, no, 100% agree.
Okay. Lindsay says, no, we've had that. Sally says, difficult to see how Indies can make any money from this. Time on project management, understanding the brief, with very little time on value-added input. Where is the opportunity here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so the work that we kind of sell in to support these projects is not, it's not a big project, but it's well paid on a sort of hour to income basis. So I think the theory is that, and my belief is that there will be more work and it will be of smaller project value, but there will be a greater frequency, which will, I mean, at least in the minds of some, exceed that or compensate for it. So I think, work is going to change for all of us over the next many years. I see that there is an opportunity for independence that the bigger agencies would struggle to fulfill. And there are, as hopefully I made the point slightly at length at the beginning, there are millions and millions of these companies around the world who could start to benefit and utilize this. So yeah, I think that is where the real opportunity exists.
Okay. Hugh, Anita has just asked, what size sample was the cost based on?
15.
Right. And Mike says, as a committed quant person, though I'm open to persuasion, used to samples of, say, 100,000 in radio audience research and 24,000 in classic single source data sources, I'm struggling to understand how you establish a representative sample. Can you explain more about how you get good representation of sample?
Well, we use behavioral targeting to access the audience that the clients ask us for. And as I say, that is defined either by age ranges, a mix of age ranges, or one specific one, gender split, the country. We don't do sort of nat rep samples within that because that is too complicated to deliver within that time frame and at that price point. But because of the fact that we recruit through social networks, there is a far kind of broader range innately of geographic spread anyway. So yeah, it's not just kind of concentrated around major cities. You do genuinely get people from all across the country, and there's it's a natural fallout element to it, but one that is really beneficial in some ways as well.
Right. Okay. And one last question from Sally. Can you see this model working for B2B too?
I've been asked about B2B a lot already. So yes, definitely. I spent most of my years as a recruiter being asked about B2B all the time. And so, yes, I've had some interesting conversations about testing it. It's not, we've done some experiments with it where we've got access to people through social networks like very quickly and at very high level positions using that method. To be honest, I came from a kind of consumer world. That was our focus, that was our understanding, and that was growing really fast. So we just decided to stick with it. But yes, absolutely, there is an opportunity for this. And if anyone is interested in working together to help us understand more about how, I mean, really, it is kind of management and the commercials of B2B that we're less knowledgeable about, then I'd certainly be very happy to talk to you.
Right, I'm going to have to close it there. So thank you everybody for attending. I hope you enjoyed it. The recording will be up in the fullness of time. And thank you. Many thanks to Hugh for his time and a very interesting presentation.
Thank you very much indeed, everyone. Really appreciate you coming along.
Okay, thanks everybody. Bye.
Okay.
Yeah.